Bless you, Schmidt.
This is Sidney Poitier, the first black man to win an Academy Award for his leading role in the 1963 film Lilies of the Field. Sidney Poitier has had a stunning career, along with fellow actors by the name of Harry Belafonte and James Earl Jones. And it's because of these brave men that black male actors have achieved any sort of modern Hollywood acclaim. They have paved the way for actors like Denzel Washington, Jamie Foxx, allowing them the chance to win Academy Awards along with so many more, like Will Smith and Idris Elba, even Kevin Hart and Dave Chappelle. They're all leading men in their own right, gaining commercial success. But let's be honest, this history starts way before these men even hit the screen. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, Hollywood tended to avoid using African American actors and actresses. In the 19th century, blackface became a popular form of entertainment. Blackface let Hollywood use different characters without actually having to employ anyone with a darker skin tone. Actors like Al Jolson was one of the first actors that made blackface popular, with characters such as Amos and Andy and Jackie Rabinowitz. Pretty racist, huh? Years later, circa 1930, the craze of blackface died out because of its connotations with bigotry and racism. Shocker. Then, fast forward to 1951, Amos and Andy was brought to television in all its glory. Clarence Muse championed the popular comedy. He self-published a pamphlet entitled The Dilemma of the Negro Actor. In it, he made the incisive observation that African American performers were caught in a trap. There are two audiences in America to confront, he wrote. The white audience, with a definite desire to buffoonery and song, and the Negro audience, with a desire to see the real elements of Negro life portrayed. Despite its demeaning caricatures, he argued that the program would at least move African American performers to center stage. So, not great, but hey, it's a start. And boom, just like that, Hollywood decides to hire black actors, even if they were caricatures performing to their own degrading stereotypes. Anyway, there was the Tom, who was someone who served white people, the Coon, who acted goofy like a clown or naive. Then there was the tragic Mulatto, who was someone who tried to pass for being white. And then there was the Buck, who was often a male who was hypersexualized and seen as a threat. Though these roles were demeaning for us black performers, some actors and actresses were so insistent to represent their communities, or, to change the ways of Hollywood. But to be honest, this was the only way that they could do it. And then we see a huge shift in Hollywood. While big actors on screen such as Sidney and Harry are starring in dramas, and James Earl Jones for his work on the stage, contrary to film, television began to see a huge uprise for black entertainers in the 70s. Shows such as Sanford and Son, Good Times, The Jeffersons, Roots, and Benson. Yeah, Benson. These shows started to turn the notion of all those old stereotypes upside down and began to see black people who weren't just assets to white life, but instead, regular people with their own stories to tell. One way they did this is by adding comedic elements, which is a tactic coined by the black community. Laugh instead of crying. No matter what the characters were going through, they would always find a way to get what they needed, but also laugh instead of slipping into a long, hard depression. For example, in Good Times we see a family that struggles immensely to stay afloat in the Chicago housing project. The household hosts the characters JJ, Thelma, Michael, Florida, Winona, Millicent, and lastly John Amos as the leading man. John is now an example of a three-dimensional character that is completely human. But instead of acting like these injustices don't exist, we see them. Because he's always trying to find a way to not have to suffer these injustices again. He makes us laugh, and he also makes us cry. He's one of the first rough drafts of a leading man in television and film. Then we move all the way down to the 90s, a sprawling time for new black male lead types. We have what is mainly referred to as the suave, good-looking, charming leading man who happens to either be comedic or super intelligent. Sort of like an Eddie Murphy type. Two examples of that are very different. Denzel Washington in the 1990 film Mo Better Blues by Spike Lee, and a TV show that I'm sure that we all have seen and loved that goes by the name The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It follows the Fresh Prince himself, Will Smith. These are two early examples of black men existing in a world that compares to that of the white leading man. In Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, we see even James Avery, this huge, towering man who is the other male lead in the show, playing Philip Banks, a man, may he rest in peace, who hasn't always had a silver spoon, but we see that he is a man of success now, and of uber wealth, and that he has a successful family. And Will Smith, who is absolutely the leading man, is from a rough background, but we see him come to grips with this new world of having a father figure and a better quality of life. We see even Denzel in Mo Better Blues, a successful trumpeter who has a successful band, and we see him have a career that isn't traditionally a lawyer or a doctor. You know, my point is we see different types of black leading men. No longer just the coon, the buck, or the tom. Granted, we still see examples of those. There is one type from the ye olde days that sticks around, just modified. And that is the buck. Now, let me explain. This new buck is a hybrid of a buck and many other things. Either you can be a buck who is a doctor, or a buck who is a chef, or a killer, or the list goes on. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but we see it in actors like Idris Elba, Michael B. Jordan, Morris Chestnut, and Kevin Hart. Sorry, that last one was a joke. Now, Idris Elba. For example, he is one of Hollywood's most incredible and impressionable actors. He has been in movies and television where he has been that type of new buck plus whatever mix. But that is not necessarily a defining trait for him. I'm just saying, I'm just using him as an example.
Dude, I'll give you $100 and I'll take out the Benihana's as you slide that 75-foot handrail.
For example, in the movie Obsessed, he is a hypersexualized man by this woman played by Ari Later, who is a manipulating, conniving. Anyway, the relationship is mainly sexual. The buck character is normally pulled away from his family to please whatever white woman wants him, just like Idris' character was stolen away by a white woman from his loving family, more importantly, Beyonce, who plays his beautiful wife. But, like I said earlier, although he has played characters that follow the buck outline of the past, he also mainly played characters that highlight the diversity of a modern leading man, like his roles in The Wire, Mandela, or The Mountain Between Us. Now, we're here. Examples of the modern leading man are actors like Mahershala Ali, Sterling K. Brown, and Chadwick Boseman. These three actors have the culminating privilege of walking in the film and TV giants' footsteps, as mentioned before. They all have made it a point to bring nothing but dignity to the modern black leading man. They have the privilege and the platform to not have to accept roles that are tied to racism and bigoted character types. For example, Sterling K. Brown plays a character where the color of his skin is not the only attribute we could focus on. He first and foremost plays a dad who goes through dad things and issues with his kids, marriage, and siblings. He also shows a black man that has anxiety and is very successful and ambitious. Another example is Mahershala Ali. He is along the same vein of Denzel Washington, playing roles that are to inspire the next generation through his expansive knowledge and skill. He even plays a character in the show True Detective that is a classic character for white actors, being a detective. But again, race is not looming over his head in the show. He goes through trauma, and we see a new depiction of a black man going through trauma and his confusion, and it's not characterized. And lastly, but certainly not least, Chadwick Boseman. Boseman is absolutely one of the most influential actors of all time. He was the first actor to play a character type that was strictly played by white men in big Hollywood movies. He played a superhero, and not only that, he played a superhero that was black, successful, innovative. It was not at all inferior to his lighter-skinned mates. And not only that, he's given us some of the best performances in historical films about injustices that black people had faced. All of these men that I have mentioned, from Sidney to Chadwick, are amazing role models and definitely have influenced what the modern black leading man is and can be. The possibilities are becoming more endless. One day, a black leading man can possibly be a man undefined by any one look, personality, or type. That's the beauty of being an actor in an industry where stories can be found in any and all facets of life. Heck, who knows? One day we might even get a black leading man named Rick, who's someone's chubby uncle, has 6 bad children, and a wife who cheats. And how he finds love and becomes a successful plumber and then decides to conquer the world by plundering. Anyway, okay. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.